If you want to spend your movie night pretending to live in the 1980s, then these are the recommendations for you. My name is Daniel with the Cobwebs channel, and today we're talking about 10 fun cult movies from the 80s, so let's get started.
You can't be a good cop if you're a dead cop. Here's your chance to prove him wrong.
Dead Heat from 1988. Two cops investigate a series of bizarre crimes, discovering a reanimation experiment bringing criminals back from the dead. When one of the officers is killed and revived, he races against time to solve his own murder before his body deteriorates. Dead Heat is a zombie action horror comedy that I've been meaning to check out for a long time, and I'm so glad I finally did. This movie is a blast. I think what I really love about this is it very much looks and feels like an action movie, like a buddy cop 80s action film, which is a really fun kind of movie for me. But it's also got all these horror elements. It's got crazy horror practical effects, zombie stuff, gore stuff, body horror stuff, and that is just fantastic. It's an enormous amount of fun. Our two leads, the buddy cops, do so much for this. They are a blast to watch. You got Treat Williams very much in the lead role. Man, I've just always felt like Treat Williams was such an underrated actor, whether you see him in Deep Rising or as the villain in The Phantom. I love him in The Phantom. So it's great to see him get the chance to do a role like this. He's great. Joe Piscopo is his partner, who's probably one of the biggest actors of all time, not just in physical size, but in acting style. The dude is so cheesy. He basically speaks in one-liners the entire time, and I love it. I think Joe Piscopo is a treat to watch. Treat. There's even a great supporting cast in here too, like Darren McGavin and Vincent Price. Yes, Vincent Price is in this. One of his last roles, though definitely not quite his last. And he's still got it. He's still got that Vincent Price charm, that charisma. Dead Heat is exactly the kind of movie the 80s did best. A genre hybrid that goes all the way, leaning a whole bunch of different ways. And I loved it.
Last Starfighter.
The Last Starfighter from 1984. It follows a teenage boy who becomes the high scorer on a video game, just this arcade kind of game in his trailer park where he lives, only to learn it was actually a test to find real pilots for an intergalactic war. And honestly, how's that for 80s wish fulfillment? You're just playing a video game, you get really good at it, feeling real proud of yourself, and that means you get whisked off into space to become the next Luke Skywalker. Or heck, it's still wish fulfillment today. I mean, video games are bigger than ever, but I do like seeing the 80s version of video games here because it's just more of a social thing. Today, you just be like sitting in your basement alone, or maybe you're on a headset with people. But in this time, the arcade is like this community activity where everybody's gathering around you while you play it. It's a lot more fun to watch in a movie for sure, so I'm glad this movie was made in the 80s, but it was also made specifically in 1984 because the Star Wars trilogy had just ended, and this is very much trying to be the next Star Wars. Does it succeed? No. But is it still fantastic? Yes. I love this movie. I think it's an absolute blast. Lance Guest is great and super likable in the lead, and I love all the stuff at the trailer park where he lives. There's like this wonderful sense of community there. It's very much got kind of like a Spielbergian kind of optimism to it, although it's definitely not directed by Spielberg. It's directed by Nick Castle. Yes, Michael Myers himself. That's got to be one of the most fascinating facts about 80s cinema in general, just that Nick Castle made this movie. And he did a great job. The movie's got such a great feel. I love Catherine Mary Stewart as his girlfriend there, and she's just one of my favorite 80s actresses. But then once he goes off into space, it's a lot of fun. You've got Robert Preston as his spirit guide, his Obi-Wan Kenobi type character who brings him up there, and I also love Robert Preston. There's tons of good space battles, some very 80s special effects that, I don't know, I still think age pretty well. Aliens, evil villains, and valiant heroism. This movie's got it all. I really enjoy it.
I dub thee Excalibrate.
Prepare for the end. The Dungeonmaster.
The Dungeonmaster from 1984. A computer genius and his girlfriend are pulled into a series of deadly fantasy realms by an evil sorcerer and must survive 7 challenges using their tech skills. I've got a couple of double feature pairings on this list, and this one very much goes with The Last Starfighter. It's another movie about a computer video game type of guy that gets pulled into a fantasy world, and this movie's very much an anthology. It's kind of a fantasy adventure horror movie, total genre hybrid, but a cult movie through and through. As this evil sorcerer, who's basically the devil, so this is a little bit of a satanic horror film, puts him into all of these different scenarios where he has to complete these challenges, it does turn into an anthology. There's a zombie segment, a Mad Max segment, this post-apocalyptic race car thing that's really, really cool. There's a Ray Harryhausen inspired segment like Jason and the Argonauts. And like a lot of anthologies, these different segments are directed by different people. In fact, the main star actually wrote one of the segments, and I watched an interview with him on this Blu-ray release from Arrow Video, and he just seemed like really invested in this movie, like he really, really cared about it. This was one of the Empire Pictures films, Charles Band's first company before he went on to do Full Moon. I like a lot of Empire films, and if you know how those movies usually feel, this is a very classic feeling Empire Pictures film. It's a cheesy in all the right ways, practical effects packed movie with so much imagination, so much entertainment, and all put into only about 75 minutes. It's a short movie, gets in, gets out, and I think it is pure popcorn entertainment.
She's so glamorous, so sophisticated, so self-assured. You'd never guess she's from out of town. My Stepmother Is an Alien.
My Stepmother Is an Alien from 1988, which is about a scientist who falls in love with a beautiful alien sent to seduce him and encourage his research to save her dying planet. This is like a pure example of an 80s movie, the kind of movie that could only exist in the 80s. Because it's not necessarily that only a movie from the 80s could be about this subject matter, a man falling in love with an alien, but only in the 80s would it be done like this, because this is very much like a family movie type of thing. It's PG-13. It's got a kid at the center of it, played by Allison Hannigan, actually, very early role for her. And it's just exactly the kind of thing that if it came out in the 2000s, it would be a Disney movie. But it's actually really raunchy, and it's got so many adult jokes in it. There's actually a full-on sex scene between Dan Aykroyd and Kim Basinger, the leads. And I'm just like, who is this movie for? Because it doesn't seem like it's for adults, but it's got so much adult content. It's really weird. So I can certainly see why it's not a classic today, because it just doesn't seem like it fits anywhere obvious. But it's very entertaining. Now, it is a really, really silly movie, so I'm for sure not telling you this is some kind of lost masterpiece. It is not, but I enjoyed it. It got a lot of laughs out of me. I thought it was really funny. I actually thought Kim Basinger was like great in the lead role. She's that classic fish out of water from another world coming in, doesn't understand our planet, but she does a great job. She feels totally in control in every scene. She's just rocking it. Dan Aykroyd, I don't know. I didn't quite feel the same about him. I really like Dan Aykroyd, but I'm not sure his performance worked quite as well. It almost seems like he's in this movie as an excuse to do a Jimmy Durante impression, because he does a lot of Jimmy Durante in this movie. There's even a full-on Jimmy Durante-inspired musical number from both of them in here, which is kind of amazing. My Stepmother Is an Alien is a ridiculous movie. It is so silly. It is so over the top, but it's exactly the kind of thing you would get in the 80s and then never again.
He's always been a rebel. Now he's about to become a hero. Tuff Turf.
Tuff Turf from 1985. A rebellious rich kid starts over at a rough LA high school and clashes with a street gang when he falls for the leader's girlfriend. So if I were to quickly explain to you exactly what this movie is, I would just say it's a teen drama that is Rebel Without a Cause, the 1950s teen movie classic. I mean, Rebel Without a Cause is exactly what this is. You've got James Spader as James Dean, essentially. But I love seeing James Spader in this role. I think he was absolutely one of the most interesting teen actors of the 80s. Like, anytime he was in something, he was fantastic. He was different, unique, and he's totally likable in this movie while still having such an edge to him. And when he falls for Kim Richards, who's also quite good here and very, very beautiful, I mean, his life just starts to fall apart because her boyfriend is so evil. This guy is so sinister, starts to tear their lives apart as they start to come together. And I just love 80s teen dramas that get so dark and intense. There's a lot of examples like this. Just a few videos ago, I talked about The New Kids that also has James Spader, although that time in a villain role. And this movie's got kind of a similar feel to it. So if you like The New Kids, you should absolutely watch Tuff Turf. Great James Spader performance, violence, darkness, way more than you'd ever expect. The 80s was the best decade for teen movies, absolutely, hands down. And it's the most 80s movie on the list. I mean, this movie is 80s to the max. It's got so much music and fashion and angst, all that good stuff you associate with the 80s. It's a totally nostalgic, wild ride. Blastfighter from 1984. So this is about an ex-cop from the city who goes deep into the country to escape his violent past, but when a local gang of rednecks push him too far, he unleashes brutal vigilante justice. So maybe you're a big 80s action fan and you're wondering, man, why haven't I ever heard about Blastfighter? It's probably because it's Italian, and if you are also a fan of Italian horror, you should know there's also this whole world out there of Italian action movies from the 80s, and I really enjoy a lot of them. I'm a big fan of down south country set action movies. It's kind of a small subgenre, but there's quite a bit of them out there. Blastfighter is a really good example of that. It's got a really good rural, woodsy set atmosphere to it. I really like our characters. The lead is played by not Franco Nero. Okay, he's not Franco Nero, but he looks so much like Franco Nero, it almost fools me a lot while I'm watching it. He's actually played by Michael Sopkiw. We're going to go ahead and go with that. He's good here. He's also got a relationship with his daughter that serves as the emotional core through the movie, and I actually thought worked really well. I mean, sure, it's an Italian movie, so it's over the top. It's got weird dubbing. It's got off-kilter dialogue that often doesn't totally make sense, but it's still got some emotion that works. It's still got some intensity between the characters. The villain is actually played by George Eastman, who's such a staple for Italian horror. You probably know him from movies like Anthropophagus and Delirium. He's such a big, intimidating looking guy that he really works as a villain here. The action is good. If you're wondering if it lives up to its title of Blastfighter, it does. There is a rocket launcher centered finale with so many explosions. It's Italian, it's weird, but if you like 80s action movies, I really think you should give it a chance.
One more thing, little boy.
Oh, God.
You get her pregnant?
No sacrifice, no reward.
Secret Admirer.
Secret Admirer from 1985. It's about a young high schooler who's in love with the popular girl who doesn't love him back. When he receives an anonymous love letter, his friends convince him that maybe it's actually from her, and it gives him the confidence to go after her, while the letter causes havoc to everyone around who gets their hands on it. This is one I discovered a couple of years ago. I actually watched it on Tubi on a total whim, just like, let me put on some mindless 80s teen comedy, and I was blown away by its genuinely really high quality. I bought this Blu-ray immediately. I then showed it to my wife, so I watched it twice in a row within the span of about a week, and I just fell so much in love with it. I would now easily put it in my top 5 80s teen comedies. It is so fun. It's so funny. The cast is so great, but it really is a legitimately fantastic film. Yes, I do love the cast. Starring C. Thomas Howell in the lead. He's super likable, but this popular girl he's in love with is Kelly Preston. Rest in peace, Kelly Preston. Anytime she was in a movie, she just lit up the screen. She absolutely does here. But his best friend is played by Lori Loughlin. And who could this anonymous love letter be? I don't know, guys. It's such a mystery. Lori Loughlin also had one of the best agents in Hollywood in the 80s. She was in so many really good movies during this time. But even though the teen stuff is so good, the stuff between their parents is even better. There's this whole subplot going on with the love letter, how it keeps passing hands between the parents, and the parents think like, oh, it's from this person at work who maybe is in love with me, or oh, my wife is having an affair, all this kind of stuff. Fred Ward and Dee Wallace are the standouts of those cast members, and there's so much heart in the moments between the parents, between everyone really. This is a movie that doesn't have any villains, it doesn't have any mean-spiritedness, even though it's rated R and it's not too squeaky clean, there's no like stupid raunchy jokes. The characters are all nice people who mean well even when they make mistakes. There's genuine drama, but it never feels dumb or contrived. I really think Secret Admirer, if you like teen comedies, it's one of those hidden gems that I think would just blow everybody away. Also, shout out Corey Haim in a small supporting role very early in his career.
Sororities tend to accentuate the very worst, the most degrading influences.
Rush Week from 1989. An ambitious young journalist working for her college newspaper becomes intrigued by the recent string of disappearances of several female students. This is an 80s slasher that's pretty good. And if you're like me, that's probably all you really need to hear. But okay, let's talk about this a little bit more. Now, I just love 80s slasher movies, so anytime one is even slightly decent, like, I gotta see it. And this one is better than slightly decent. I think it's quite good. It's got a really good college atmosphere to it. I love college set horror movies. I've got to do a dedicated list on them one of these days. And this movie, like, nails that feeling, that kind of collegiate feeling of all these young people out on their own with no parents to protect them while there's a killer going around. The killer has a really good look. He's pretty scary looking. He carries this giant axe to do his killings. But that does kind of lead me to a downside with this movie. It's really not that violent, and it's certainly not gory. By the late 80s, and this is 1989, as late 80s as you can get, the MPAA was really cracking down on the slasher genre, much more than in the early 80s. I mean, you can really see that trajectory when you just watch through the Friday the 13th sequels. They're really gory in the beginning. They get way more sanitized later on because they had to be. Rush Week is a victim of that, so most of the time you see the axe swing, and then there's just a cut, and then you know somebody got killed. But the movie is good enough that I didn't really mind that. I loved the vibe of it. I really liked the lead actors. There's a romance going on between the two leads that I thought really worked. It wasn't too easy, too simple. Pamela Ludwig is in the lead, who I also recently talked about in Pale Blood. I think she's really good in both movies. And it's a Halloween movie. The whole film's kind of centered around this big Halloween party that's going to happen that they actually call Fright Night. It's not really that festive, to be honest with you. And if you watch this like as a Halloween movie, maybe on Halloween night, I don't think it's good for that. I don't think it's going to quite give you those vibes. But right now, late July, when you're kind of looking forward to the Halloween season, this might be a perfect pick.
This summer, do something special, something you've never done before. Whoever catches a guy first wins.
Little Darlings.
Little Darlings from 1980, which is about two 15-year-old girls from different sides of the tracks who compete to see who will be the first to lose their virginity while at summer camp. This is what I've been hearing about a lot over the years, especially since Vinegar Syndrome put it out on 4K on this beautiful cinematograph release. Very, very cool stuff. But I was always skeptical if I was really going to enjoy it. Just about a couple of little girls who want to lose their virginity. I don't know. It sounded weird, but I checked it out and I was blown away by the quality of this thing. This is such a legitimately excellent movie. A big factor that separates this from something like American Pie that has a very similar plot is these aren't high school seniors who are played by a bunch of 20-somethings. These are kids. They're played by kids. They look like children. So it kind of requires a certain level of delicacy around the subject matter that American Pie didn't really have to worry about. And this film really has it. I mean, I was astounded by the level of heart, empathy, realism that it treated kids trying to explore their sexuality, figure out who they are. It handles that so well in such a beautiful way that's honestly very emotional. Even though this is mostly starring kids, the overall acting quality is insanely good. The two lead girls are played by Tatum O'Neal and Christy McNichol. They're both excellent, but especially Christy McNichol as the lower income kid, the kid who comes from a little bit of a rougher background. She's got more of an edge. She's a little more hardened. And her performance just like kind of broke my heart. Like, I just felt so sad for this character and I so wanted the best for her. It's an astounding performance, one of the best that I've seen in a while. And shout out a very young Matt Dillon as one of the objects of their affection. Because it came out in 1980, it does have a little bit more of a 70s vibe than an 80s vibe, totally admit that. But it's one of the best coming of age movies I've seen in a while. It has so much heart, it is so much truth about growing up, and I thought it was incredible. So Little Darling, so much more than a teen sex comedy, a legitimately great drama, but also really fun to watch.
Hello, can you hear me?
I'm possessed!
Give yourself a shot of adventure. Innerspace.
Innerspace from 1987, in which a test pilot is miniaturized in a secret experiment and accidentally injected into the body of a nervous grocery store clerk. Man, this is the kind of movie you got in the 80s that I just so miss. It's just a fun, adventurous comedy with a high concept plot that's not based on anything. It's not any part of any franchise. It's good for the whole family. It's PG. Anybody can watch it. But also, I think anybody can enjoy it, regardless of if you're with a family or not. Like, I just miss these kind of movies. It's a classic Joe Dante film. Joe Dante, one of the best directors of this time, and I think this is one of his best movies. It's got such a phenomenal cast of people that I just personally love. Dennis Quaid in the lead as this pilot. Meg Ryan, man, 80s, 90s Meg Ryan was just the absolute best. And Martin Short is the nervous grocery store clerk that Dennis Quaid gets injected into. And I'm so glad his career has really gotten a resurgence lately because of Only Murders in the Building. Martin Short is such a treasure, and he's so funny in this movie, being driven crazy by Dennis Quaid in his body, watching them eventually start to communicate, try to work together to figure out this situation. It's funny, but it's very sweet and heartfelt. It's got some really exciting sequences. It's got some fun cameos from Joe Dante favorites who you're going to see in a lot of Joe Dante movies. Innerspace is awesome. It's one of those movies that I showed to a group of friends and family on my birthday, because I always show movies to people on my birthday, and it totally killed. Everybody loved it. I just think this is one of those movies it'd be really hard to not enjoy. Before I go, I just want to send out a massive shout out to my patrons who truly make this channel possible. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. And if anybody else wants to support me, there's always a link to my Patreon in the description below. And I want to give a special shout out to Geriatric Gen X Grandpa, Retronic, and Jake. You guys are the absolute best. If you want to check any of these movies out for yourself, I do have streaming recommendations right here on the screen, but not all of these movies are in streaming, so I also have physical media links in the description, and using them does help support the channel. Let me know some of your 80s movie favorites down in the comments below, and if you want to hang out with me more, you can click the link on the screen for some more 80s recommendations. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to enjoy yourselves today, have some fun, and I'll see you next time. Bye.